have item 18, which was carried over, which is the discussion possible action regarding resolution authorizing application for a local adult detention facility, Assembly Bill 900 construction. That is now item 18, scheduled for 9:45, and all the other items are moved one notch down. 18 now becomes 19, 20, 19 becomes 20, etc. So hopefully people will be following that. Then we also have results of closed sessions from the Board of Supervisors meeting of March 11th. Closed session was held pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9B1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, one case, county counsel. That one was canceled. A closed session was held pursuant to Government Code Section Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, county representatives, CAO and assistant CAO, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management, SEIU, regarding miscellaneous employees, human resources, resulting in no action. Finally, a closed session was held, conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, property APNs as follows: 44-011-050, 44-011-049, 44-011-051, and 44-011-052. Agency negotiator Brent Harrington, or alternate to be determined. Negotiating parties Ryan Voorhees, Greg Opinski. Under negotiation, instruction to negotiator regarding potential purchase price financing options, county counsel and administration, resulting in nothing to report. We now move to the consent agenda, where items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Board?
I'd like to pull item 4.
Item 4, Madeline, I understand we have a correction to item 11.
Yes.
So we'll pull that for that purpose. And is there any member of the public which wishes to pull an item?
Item 1.
Item 1. And staff? Okay. Is there a motion on the balance?
So moved. Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We'll now move in order items 1, 4, and 11. Item 1.
Joe Kelly. The March 4th, 2008 Board of Supervisors minute summary, item 12, closed session property negotiations with Mr. Voorhees and Mr. Opinski shows board action, nothing to report. Addenda item 12A shows discussion and possible action approving an agreement to purchase real property for the construction of a new adult correctional facility. Board action shows continued to March 11, 2008. This was an addendum agenda item continued without public comment. The Brown Act requires a public comment time allocation for agenda items, including closed sessions and addendum agenda items. I have yet to see from a chairperson a request for public comment on closed session. March 11, 2008 Board of Supervisors minutes summary agenda item 17, closed session property negotiations with Mr. Voorhees, Mr. Opinski, show board action, nothing to report. Item 18, discussion of possible action approving an agreement to purchase real property, board action approved 5-0. Somewhere a reportable action happened to cause an agenda item 12A on March 4, 2008, then continued to March 11, 2008, then reported as an agenda item. The Brown Act, section 54957.1, subsections parentheses A, parentheses 1, parentheses capital A, parentheses capital B, does not require an agenda item, only public reporting in open session at the public meeting during which the closed session is held. I personally hope you will continue to put the agenda discussion and possible actions, but with a closed session action closed session action report that you are expecting to conclude the closed session item on a date specific with a closed session public report to follow with staff discussion and public comment. Item 8 in this issue, in the same issue, discussion of possible action resolution AB 900. Board action continued to March 11, 2008. The minutes do not show. The Board of Supervisors were presented a short discussion by the sheriff and the presentation of an information packet that was not available to the public. The agenda item at the request of the sheriff was continued to March 11th. This was done without a chairperson request for public comment. Item 13 within that, discussion and possible action regarding Sheriff's Department staffing analysis and strategic plan was canceled. This was done without a chairperson request for public comment. March 4th, 2008, I attempted to obtain a copy of the Sheriff's staff report that was given to the Board of Supervisors for their review. Same day, agenda item, Resolution AB 900, designation of authority. I was advised I could file a Public Information Act request, turnaround time 10 days. The issue of bid values, and I agreed with the concept of proprietary information. I was told I could pick up a copy on March 10th. Later, I contacted the Calaveras Enterprise to discuss the newspaper's receipt of the Calaveras County Staff Report Package. The staff report package included the Sheriff's Department report, less the proprietary information. Two concerns have been fueled by this incident. 1, an act of discrimination. 2, a reinforcement of the necessity for the transparency of Calaveras County government as written in the Brown Act, California Government Code sections 54950 through 54963, the People's Right to Know, also known as the Sunshine Law. As a minimum, a weekly staff report binder should be kept in the Board of Supervisors office, available for public review. The Calaveras County Board of Supervisors agenda website should contain the staff report information for public review. The minutes should not be approved. These minutes should not be approved until the next necessary corrections are completed. Thank you.
Thank you. You raised a couple of issues, and I think we should try to clarify these. On the reports back from closed session, on those items, should we be, as a matter of course, opening comment on closed session issues for the public? I didn't certainly know.
I'm not aware of any such requirement.
We'll sort of defeat the purpose of having a closed session and have an open discussion of it.
I will certainly look to see if there's any case law on it, but the Brown Act does not require it.
Whether it's required or not, and I know that the matters subject to closed session are specifically not for public discussion, but if a member of the public wishes to comment on the topic that's contained, that seems reasonable.
Sure.
All right. Well, I imagine that's prerogative of the chair, and I will try to make sure that we make that known to people if people wish to comment on a topic. We won't be in a position to be able to comment on matters of closed session, but if there are people who wish to make their thoughts known on the general topic, I don't see a basis for denying that. On the other matter raised, I don't think that was on the topic of minutes, but when it comes to items from the public, I believe we also appear to be giving people different vehicles to go get information that should be available without going through a public records request, and I'd like to make sure that we've got our protocols clarified. So under items from the public, if we could respond to that, I would appreciate it.
Do you like me to?
If you wish to comment at the
moment. I mean, my suggestion would be that the agenda as presented to the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday for the following Tuesday's meeting be placed in a binder for public inspection, and also scanned as a PDF file and posted in its totality, including the supporting documentation that we provide, be posted on the county's website. You know, as soon thereafter, following its distribution to the board as possible.
All right, I think that makes lots of sense, and I frankly don't understand how we managed to loop that around in the last time, and I'd like to offer you my apology for that. It's, you should have the same access, all members of the public, this is not just Joe, but all members of the public should have access to the, not just the agenda, but the supporting documentation on that. We give it to the press, and no less should we give it to every individual who wishes to receive it. So I imagine that can be done by administrative fiat.
We will implement that this week.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion on the minutes of the regular board meeting, item 1?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4.
I pulled this because this is a minute order asking that the board endorse a letter supporting Senate Bill 1139, which designates Railroad Flat Elementary School to be a necessary small school. And my concern is I don't see anything from the school district in here, and I'm very uncomfortable supporting something like this if we don't have a support letter from the school district. I don't want the Board of Supervisors to start managing Calaveras Unified School District and deciding what schools they keep open and what schools they close or modify, et cetera. So it seems to me before we take action on this, we should at least get a letter from the school district supporting this action.
This came to me through the site coordination there, and I believe they had discussed this with the school district. Senator Cox has co-sponsored this. It's a bipartisan bill, and the school district had, I also had a call from the school board member representing the area, Hank Nagel, who requested that this come before the board. I assumed that that had school district support.
I guess for myself, I'd like to see a letter from the school district on school district letterhead saying we support this and we encourage the Board of Supervisors to also support it before we start trampling on the school district's prerogatives.
I don't know if there appears to be a member of the school board, and maybe you could help enlighten us on this topic.
Is there a member here?
Yes.
Zeril McDaniel, CUSD School Board President this year. Yes, this is that's a reasonable request, and I'm sorry that wasn't included. There is a letter. It is sponsored by Senator Cox, and we're asking that this bill that we've been lobbying actually for years to get this designated as a small necessary school because it's very difficult to keep. We're committed to small schools, and we're committed to this particular school. So this is a means for extra funding to keep that
So
school.
you're saying the school district is totally in support of this action?
Absolutely.
And they have expressed that in writing to Senator Cox and others?
Yes, and,
Okay.
and we'll get that letter to you.
That's fine. Thank
Yes,
you. And I'll move the item.
Thank you.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We now move to item 11, which is needs to be reviewed because it has a typo. The allocation would be not for upfront understory project, but up from the understory project. It is a joint effort between the Blue Mountain Coalition for Youth and UC Davis. It has 10 kids coming from different organizations, church youth organizations, the youth center, and school groups that are 10 kids are being given cameras and training to learn how to document projects and things going on in their community. Up from the understory is the theory of it. It's a timber-based economy that kind of didn't go too well over the last couple of decades, and there's a lot of community relief and renewal efforts that it made some sense to see how the kids are looking at it, and that's what this is for. It also includes the showing of the product both in West Point, but also more importantly down in Davis, where the kids will be given a tour of Davis and connections to the place. We're hoping that this inspires a number of our youth to think about their future education. So we're asking for $500, and we would need to change the minute order to be referring to up from the understory rather than up front. I would entertain a motion at this point.
All move as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We now move to public comment.
Good morning. My name's Bonnie Newman. I had to come back because I got distracted last week and I lost my train of thought. So what I wanted to suggest, in the position that I'm in, having served on the negotiating team and having gone through the voting process with all our members and having talked to probably 50 or 60 of them and confirmed that we indeed had finalized a contract. I realized I haven't heard from any of my union reps this week, and I haven't got a call back from Francine, so I'm still assuming that it's still kind of up in the air. And what I know from my viewpoint is that we have a union that is 200 people strong, but it's not a real strong union. We don't have a union that strikes. Under no circumstance would we ever go out on strike. And knowing that other contracts get finalized and pretty much enacted upon, I feel like I need to speak on behalf of the people that I represented in this negotiating team. And we had assumed that we would, if we allowed ourselves to postpone negotiations, that we would be able to pick up any lost time through some dream we had of retroactive pay. And if that is not so, and knowing that we've lost probably 8 months of retroactive pay at the salary increase, which was 75 cents an hour, and knowing in 3 or 4 more months we're going to bump up to the second phase of our pay raise, which would be $9.50 an hour, I was wondering if you could see it in your budget and in your hearts to bump us up to the second pay raise for a matter of, I guess it's 4 months, knowing that you've saved 8 months of 75 cents an hour, and the difference between $9.25 and $9.50 an hour is only a quarter an hour. It would mean a lot to everyone. It would mean that we didn't, spend a whole lot of time not doing the best we could for our membership, and it would show a real good heart on your part that you're recognizing the struggle that we're having as home health care workers. And since there is no negotiating team, what I would like to see eventually, and that's we're not going to be negotiating for another 3 years, is a pay equal to what you pay the custodians here at Calaveras County. I think they're about $12.50 an hour. And at some point, and because I know I'm talking too much, I might have to come back and talk about health benefits, which we feel kind of slighted on. Grateful for what we have, but with enough time, I'll tell you a story about the present health care benefits that we receive. So that's what I'm asking. I don't know if it's if we have to revote or if there's anything going on that, but that's just the thought I had, to kind of reward us for being patient and not pushing the issue and demanding negotiations when, you felt that you need to finalize budgets and all of that.
Thank you for your presentation. I must say that your presentation last week, we weren't aware that there was this problem with the state. And
I just found out talking to Francine.
And so it's our goal to have a heart. This is a good workforce, and as you're right, that not one of you would leave the side of the seniors and people with disabilities that rely on you to keep their lives going independently and outside of institutional care. So I appreciate your plea here. The question is, what is the legal venue through which we can accomplish any changes? And my guess is items from the public might not necessarily get it done, but we would like to provide a venue where that can occur. And I believe Francine has some word on this.
Yeah, just to give you an update, Bonnie and I talked last week as well, and she was having some problems getting hold of the rest of her bargaining team. So we worked, at least Human Resources did, we worked with our negotiator, and we were able to contact them. We are working on a proposal to deal with the issue of the lack of retroactivity and moving forward. The department head, Mary Sawicki, is working on some numbers, and so we are making some progress. The problem is with an agreement such as this, it does require 60 days approval, notice to the state and approval. And we did actually have a letter from the state approving it absent the retroactivity. So we are pleased that we are starting to make progress, at least with the other side. And I can speak in more detail to Bonnie about kind of where we're going and giving her some information. So.
All right, great. Hopefully that can happen
Very soon.
Yeah, momentarily, maybe. Thanks. Other items from the public? Any comments?
Hi, my name is Christine Taylor, and I represent the Arnold Certified Farmers Market and the Murphy Certified Farmers Market. And I came here today as part of a loose coalition between the Angels Camp Certified Farmers Market and the new San Andreas Farmers Market. There's 3 of us involved. And what we're requesting is that we, annually we're charged by the Environmental Health Department a fee that I believe last year was $250. This fee is charged for every farmers market, and we're requesting that we have the fee waived. We believe that we, as farmers markets, we really we have a lot of community benefits, offer community benefits, and we feel like it's just a small. Our farmers market, for instance, goes for 13 weeks, 1 day a week for 3 hours a week, 1 day a week for 10 weeks of the year. And so it's a small little farmers market. Anyway, we would like to request that the fees be waived, that in recognition of the community benefits that farmers markets provide throughout the county. And I'm not sure how to go about this, but I have talked to Steve Walensky and Brian Moss. I'm trying to get in touch with him. And anyway, maybe it's on the agenda for voting sometime soon.
Let me ask: what department would be best? This be best routed through? I know the ag department, and Brian's agency is probably one of the keys here.
Good morning, Brian Moss, Environmental Management Agency. Actually, Christine and I have been playing phone tag for at least the last week on this issue. My only comment regarding waiving fees is purposes of inconsistencies. So as the board is aware, our goal is to try and recover the cost of what it takes us to send staff out in the field to do an inspection and/or inspections, whether it be a bed and breakfast, a farmer's market, or Save Mart Foods. So my only caution with waiving fees, although I'm not absolutely against it, is setting a precedence. I'm concerned about inconsistencies, because if we waive the fees here, then who else would come along and say, well, we kind of fall in that category too, and I'm just not sure if that is the direction that we want to go. So truthfully, we're talking about a revenue stream of maybe about $1,000 annually. That's not a lot of money. I understand that. It's more of an issue of, are we being consistent as a regulating community? So I would just share that with the board, food for thought, and that would run through the Environmental Health Department.
And what is the fee for a farmer's market?
It's $261 annually.
$261.
Correct. And that covers the whole market for
Regardless
that
of how many
season.
vendors are in there, Brian?
Pardon me?
Regardless of how many vendors participate?
As I understand it, yes.
And I believe there are also attached fees when you're starting a market up that comes from either AUP or CUPs, depending
I'm
on
not
size.
sure if
No?
those may have been waived by the county in the past. That I don't know. I can only speak to the environmental health fees at this time.
All right. Let's see if there's anything else that we need to review.
Just one other comment on that was that the $250 fee that the farmers markets are charged is a fee. So if vendors are coming to the farmers market and they happen to be, making bread or any kind of processed food, they themselves pay an environmental health fee, the same amount, $250 or whatever the going rate is. And so they come to the farmers market with their health department fee already paid to the health department. And then as a farmers market, then we're again responsible for paying another fee that is the same fee. So it's kind of duplicated in a way, and I do understand the argument that when we get inspections, that does have to be paid for. However, I have to admit that we've had one inspection in 15 years at the Arnold Farmers Market, and I think we've more than paid for that one. And I wouldn't complain about it. It's just that's just the reality of it. We don't get inspected that many times.
All right.
So,
thank you. Shirley.
If I could offer just one comment, Shirley Ryan, the Administrative Office, is we have sent out the fee schedules to department heads for their review and update. We will be bringing those back to the board in mid-April, and that may be the best time to discuss what the fees would be for the farmers market.
Okay. Also, I understand County Council is doing a review on fee waiver and making consistent policies relating to that. Do you have any comments, Jim?
Well, we've done some research on the issue of administrative use permits. I think that probably applies equally here, but I'd like to have a chance to check it. It might be good to time that discussion with the budget issues as well.
Okay.
But we're ready to go otherwise.
For the organic farmers.
Any other comments?
Brian, didn't we do something for the organic farmers the last time we did fees?
I know that that the board actually addressed fees for this kind of thing, I believe, with the weights and measures end of it, but I do not believe with the environmental health. So that's the other end of it. That's something that Mary, of course, is.
Yeah, I think part of the issue here is did we extend the intent of the board? The original discussion was just within one particular type of fee, and it appears that we didn't extend the same theories to this area of fee accrual.
And that would be correct. We'll take a look into the times we're inspecting those facilities, because certainly we shouldn't be collecting a fee without actually performing the service and issuing the permits. And Christine is absolutely correct in that each food facility, whether you have a commissary or what have you, is also inspected. So in addition to the farmers market, of course, the individual food facilities, ABC food facility, needs to be inspected as well. So again, recovering of costs, and we will take whatever the board direction is on this issue, of course.
All right, and I see Mary, our Ag Commissioner, is also up here to comment.
Good morning, Mary Mudds, Agricultural Commissioner. Marita, with regards to your question and the fees for organic producers, there is not a county fee for organic producers. What we have done last year is we waived the fee for certified producers to participate in a farmer's market. That was a waiver of $60. We waived the fee for the market manager. There was a fee for them. It was either 1992 or 93 is when I recall it. The administrative use permit was waived for the farmers markets as well. So that again was simply a loss of $1,000 to our department, which didn't break the department.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any further comments on this item? All right. Moving to Any other public comments on other items not on the agenda?
Aaron Target, San Andreas. I was here 4.5 months ago and addressed you guys about an ongoing issue with code compliance, ongoing for 3 years now. At that meeting, I was told you had a meeting with code compliance scheduled the next day, and that I would be contacted by code compliance. Haven't heard a word. It's getting to be kind of ridiculous now. 3 years for the county to fix a code compliance issue. I've been to an administrative hearing, and their decision was for the people that made the infraction to fix it. It hasn't been done. They did make an attempt, is what code compliance tells me, so now they have to renegotiate. It has to do with an over-excavation. They dug on my property. They left a bank too high. My fence posts have fallen out. My trees have fallen over. They came in and they built half a wall. There's no difference from when they stopped building the wall in the bank to where it takes off now. So my question is to you, what has to be done to get them to do something?
So Barry, are you saying that they have not contacted you in 3 years?
Not at all. In 3 years, no. When I was here 4.5 months ago, they were supposed to contact me. They were supposed to have a meeting and contact me.
Right, I was told that they did contact you.
And I'm telling you they didn't.
So I guess the next thing, Barry's got me pretty much on speed dial. So I guess the next thing is I need to accompany them out there.
Me?
Me.
That'd be great.
Very well.
But what's going to be
There also
done about
seems to be some discrepancy or difference of opinion here what compliance would be there. So
I don't see any discrepancy. It says in the
I know you don't,
laws.
but they don't either. So somewhere in the middle, we're going to have to meet here. Apparently, I have to go out there.
That'd be fine with me.
I'm at a loss of words only because I haven't actually visually seen this, and I thought that it was being taken care of. And I've been informed that you have been contacted. So I will schedule.
I have received no phone calls, no letters.
I will schedule a visit.
And I pretty much give up on going out to code compliance anymore because it's a runaround. We're going to call you. We're going to call you. No calls.
Got it.
And now they're getting kind of snotty. Well, you're never going to be satisfied.
Allergies.
No, not allergies. Attitude.
I will be out there with code compliance, Barry.
Well, I'd like to know when, and if possible, I'd like to meet you there.
That'd be fine.
I'd also like to have you put on your agenda to study these problems, because I can understand if you want to build your house and don't want to put a roof on it, and code compliance wants to negotiate that, because they're telling me this is what the board wants to do. They want to negotiate. But this is costing me money and costing damage to my property. And I don't think they need to negotiate. I think they need to get it fixed.
Got it.
This has cost me quite a bit out of my pocket, building temporary fences. You put yourself in my place. If I cut your water supply off to a field, it's 3 years too long to get it taken care of. Cut off a row of your orchard, 3 years too long to get it taken care of. Dug a ditch across your driveway to your garage, you can't get into it. I can't use my property, I pay taxes on it. I can't use it all. It's dangerous.
I got it.
Okay. I'll be waiting to hear from you. Thank you.
I would also like to make sure that when we do, from meetings of this nature, say that there will be a meeting the following day, that we make good on our word. And I don't know what happened. Maybe there was an effort, but I would sure like to make sure that we're following up when we say we'll do something. So if that could be part of the report that comes back.
I imagine you guys did have your meeting. Just never heard about it.
Well, as I recall, we said that you'd be party to that.
No?
So, all right. Thank you.
Joe Kelly again. The last speaker and the first speaker. The last speaker, his words ring something. I would hope, Mr. Claudino, that's our Supervisor Claudino, that during the Economic Development Study session this afternoon, that it's brought up and how the county's going to deal with this kind of problem. Put it into an effect that things become effectively taken care of. The first speaker on the concept of the SEIU and salaries and all that, I would wish, I don't see her here now, but it would be nice if she attended the economic development issue and brought that up too, so that within this economic development issue we get the full scope of this circle that I call government, and how it'll sometimes get bumps, but then it comes back into line, or it grows an entirety of a larger diameter. My main concern again today, and I am going to harp on it, hopefully this will be the last time I harp on it, Government Code Section 54950, paragraph 2, states, quote, "The people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agency which served them. The people in delegating authority do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they may retain control over the instruments they have created," unquote. It's too bad all government doesn't follow this. California Government Code Section 54954.3, parentheses, small a, quote, "Every agenda for the regular meeting shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the legislative body on any item of interest to the public, before or during the legislative body's consideration of the item that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body, provided that no action shall be taken on any item not appearing on the agenda unless the action is otherwise authorized by subdivision B of section 54954.2. That's your emergency section, emergency action session. But what does this all mean? It's really funny. Now I should say it's funny. It's really wrenching to see what this law means anymore. This law has been eroded by court decisions and government officials' efforts to block access to records. Basically, the failure of enforcement by other elected, to use the term, quote, "law and order," unquote, officials and agencies. But the real thing I'm wondering about is, when you folks went to supervisor school, did you learn about the Brown Act? March 4th, 2008, agenda item 8, regarding a resolution authorizing application for a local adult detention facility, Assembly Bill AB 900, or Assembly Bill 900, construction grant, etc. Did not have a chairperson request for public comment. March 11th, 2008, agenda item 11, resolution AB 900 was approved 5-0 without the chairperson request for public comment. Today's agenda item 18, discussion of possible action regarding resolution AB 900 is before you again. Are you going to be respectful of the public's testimony rights today, allowing the public to express its concerns in total, given the denial of public comment previously? Thank you.
I'd like to repeat my sense of this. First, item 18 is an item that will be open to public discussion, as all non-closed board sessions, closed sessions, have been, in my understanding, traditionally with this board and with this chair. What has also been our practice, and that's challenged today, and I will open for a comment on the items that are on closed session, but traditionally what we have done is move from the open session, where public comment is available for any item on the agenda, and under public comment on that agenda item for anything not on the agenda. We presume that public comments will happen on one of those, in one of those two aspects. Given the concerns that you're raising, I will now begin to ask for things, if there's any comments on the topics under closed session, before we move to closed session to accomplish that. But generally speaking, any item that's not on the agenda or is on the agenda can be commented upon, and we'll make sure that that is provided for all citizens. As regards the previous question about documentation, the public should be aware that you now, given the executive order, I guess, by our CAO, will be able to get in the clerk's office the same information that is available to the Board of Supervisors for all items on the agenda, the packet that we get, which includes the agenda and supporting documentation, and that will be available in the clerk's office on the same day that we get ours, from now forth. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Zerl McDaniel. I just had a question on item 5 on the consent agenda. Just a quick clarification of what that actually is. The lease for administrative office and storage space at the Colombo building. Is that the old Winkler building? Yes. Just wanted to make a comment and ask the board to consider for future. I'm the president of the San Andreas Merchants here in San Andreas, and we had written the board a letter some time ago expressing our disappointment that so many San Andreas commercial space, prime commercial space, is being leased out by the county, which actually prevents any future commercial. We're working very hard to try and change this paradigm in, if you will, in San Andreas to bring in more businesses. The amount of money that's spent on leases might be put into loans, so we have permanent storage on our campus and have our all services convenient to customers here at the Government Center. Space, I know, has been an issue, but going up rather than out is another option. But just for future consideration, and actually in the best interest of San Andreas, just might want to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment on items not on the agenda?
Good morning, Lakmir Krewal, Air Pollution Control Officer. I would like to inform the board that district has been awarded $180,000 for the next year Carl Moyer funds. All we have to do is send them a resolution to the state air resources, and that the district will be receiving $1,500,000 for school bus program too, but we may not be allowed to run the program because most of the districts of our size have surrendered that program either to the San Joaquin Valley or to the state or California Air Pollution Control Officers Association, because the state feels the smaller districts may not have enough staff to operate the program. So we might be losing that $220,000, but we shall receive $1,500,000 for 4 of our school districts. Thank you.
How is that distributed? Do all the districts get a similar amount, or they compete for that somehow?
No, most of the smaller districts are getting $1,500,000.
Each district?
Each district.
Oh.
Tuolumne, Amador. I tried to convince my neighbors.
Air pollution district or school districts? Because we have several school districts in the county. So I guess my question is, $1.5 million for the districts within Calaveras County?
4 of our school districts. I tried to convince Amador and Tuolumne County that, hey, let's merge together. Maybe we can have one full-time person who will do this for next 2 years, but they are not interested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Last call for public comments on items not on the agenda. Any further comment? We will now move to item 16. This is the reorganization of County Administration Office, and there are a number of points under this. I believe Francine has a report on this.
Good morning. Francine Osborne, Administration, Human Resources and Risk Management. The proposal before you is a request to restructure the administrative office and to establish a new Human Resources and Risk Management Department. This action will require the board to introduce 2 ordinances and also to approve 3 resolutions. To give you a little factual information and history, the administrative office is currently made up of 12 employees. 8 of those employees are dedicated to human resources and risk management. When I started almost 10 years ago, human resources was made up of a director and 1 assistant, and that assistant was split 50% between HR and 50% for clerical and administrative support to the CAO. Today, thanks to the support of the board, and in acknowledging the growth, not only of the county, but of the services and programs that Human Resources provides. HR, again, is made up of 8 employees. We service 535 employees, 22 department heads, and not to count the services that we provide to the public and the community. As you can see, we've evolved not to be any more back office support, but we are a complex service department. Administration and Human Resources both provide support to one another. We've always been housed together, and that is no longer the case, and it no longer makes sense for both of those agencies to support one another, whether it be clerical, financial, legislative. The proposal before you is to change that. If you remember last fiscal year, we actually took the first step. As part of the budget process, we split up the administrative budget and the human resources budget. The insurance budget, which is tied to risk management, has always been separate. Part of the reason for that was really to take a look at what it takes to maintain and continue to provide services in both of those divisions. Both departments, really, if the board approves this, are very excited about this change. In coordination, we feel that the proposal before you is sound and that organizationally and structurally it's in the best interests of the county. We face a lot of challenges ahead of us, and in order to concentrate on both divisions and the goals that we have in order to maximize staff and services, we believe this is the way to go. I've talked a lot about HR, obviously, and risk management, because that is really the area that I service. But by creating a new human resources department, it also requires some changes in the administrative office. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. The administrative office, with this split, will require support as well. Support for backup. They'll need to pick up the things HR is providing. HR will need to pick up the support that admin has providing us. What we are proposing before you as part of that reorg is really to take the principal administrative analyst and reclassify the position to the assistant county administrative officer. And we believe that this will take both of these agencies into the future and support county departments in all different avenues. I think I've covered most of everything in the packet, but I'll open it up to you for questions.
Any board questions?
Including my changes.
And I did make those changes Marita brought to my attention as part of the 2 ordinances that are proposed. The first one is actually establishing the Human Resources Department, which required taking those human resource and risk management services out of the county administrator's officer's ordinance. But if you look at the old ordinance, it was written so long ago that it referenced only the CAO as a he. So we have updated it and put it, so we reference both to take us into the future, and we also noticed that board was not capitalized. I did make those changes kind of in my attempt and excitement to get over here. I did leave it on my desk, and I will get it to Madeline. I did make
just those changes that so the chair can sign. The question, I thought it was a good. This was a good submittal, Francine. I compliment you. I thought it was very clear and very concise. A technical question on the ordinances. Do they have to be introduced one week and adopted the next?
That's correct. And then they have a 30-day period that we have to wait before they become effective. So this week you'll introduce them, and then next week you'll move forward and approve them.
Other questions from the board? Comments?
Francine, I was looking at this enhanced training programs that you say on page 2, at the very bottom of the page. there's a bullet point there that talks about create an employee floater program. My assumption is that is a proposal to kind of have employees that could move from department to department, depending on workloads.
That's correct. The board chair had kind of challenged all of the departments as part of the budget process to take a look at some different ways that we can do business, really maximizing our funding and our employees. So I've taken a look at some other county programs, and we've talked a little bit about it at the department head meetings. And so it's something that I don't know how large we'll go with it. There'll be some more discussion, but we do think that there is a place for it and that we can utilize employees in several different departments. So that is what it is here. It's something that we would like to take a look at and bring a proposal forward to the board and to departments.
Okay. I very much endorse the concept. I've been hoping that could take place. Somehow the nomenclature doesn't suit the seriousness of it. A floater program, just there's a negative connotation there, but I don't know. Let's wordsmith it or something.
It's kind of the industry term. I think that you're right. There probably is a more positive way to approach that.
I personally like the fire department's version of it, which is mutual aid.
Yeah, that's good.
But these are the things that we're looking at. One of the things, as you know, with recruitments and the population of retirees that we have, we face a lot of challenges in the recruitment arena. And so one of the things we'd like to also do is look at some succession planning, training staff that we have, leading them into leadership roles. And I've looked at a couple of counties that are actually kind of just starting that process, and we're interested in maybe moving in that direction as well.
Any other board or staff comment before we move to public comment on this? I have just one question. I notice a comprehensive listing of examples of duties, and I believe this has been considerably updated and modernized from previous, but I just wanted to ask whether you feel this has been thoroughly reviewed or borrowed from previous documents.
Can you help me out? Which document are you looking at? The actual ordinance?
Where we're in the board packet, where we're talking about the different, where we're defining Director of Human Resources and Risk Management, that position. We have examples of duties. These are things that are already going on there, but I don't believe they're reflected in, all of them are reflected in previous documents, at least that I've seen. And I wanted to make sure that we'd reviewed them thoroughly and that this is the updated, completely updated version.
Again, Steve, could you help me out? Could you clarify? Are you talking about in the ordinance or in the actual memo?
I'm talking about the...
Chapter 2.10.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Actually, if you looked at the original ordinance where it referenced personnel administration and risk management in the county administrator's section, it was basically 2 items. It was very, very minimal. So I actually had to not only assign a whole new number, I went out and looked at what other counties referenced when they set up their department. And I kind of picked what I felt reflected our human resources and risk management department and stayed away from those that actually have the personnel commissions. And so I believe that this is, I think it's a good document and is very reflective. It isn't everything, though, and I noticed that most of the ordinance establishing HR departments, they were very broad. You'd have to look more towards the job descriptions and things to really get the bigger picture.
All right, and I assume that's the same for the assistant CAO position, that's been...
It has been updated and revised.
All right,
yes.
And just one other comment, which is I'm delighted to see the floater mutual aid thing in here, and I very much hope that people will take that as a harbinger for further integration of effort in this county. Thanks. Public comment on this topic.
Joe Kelly. The concept of cross-training is a very good idea. Within this restructure, with a new human resources department, is there a cost to the restructuring of these two departments in relationship to personnel, any changes in classification triggering pay increases, and or support within the reorganization? Was a dollar figure given in the staff report as far as department funding, any increases for the rest of this fiscal year, or is it remaining the same?
The answers to those two questions are yes and yes, and the details will be provided by Francine. It is in the packet.
And I can give you a copy of the packet. It did detail the costs for the new Human Resources and Risk Management Department. As you can see, there are no new costs for this year or next year. For the administrative office, however, there is a small cost for this fiscal year, and then next year it does reflect the full cost for the full budget year. And I'd be more than happy to provide
How
the
much is
gentleman.
that, Francine? Why don't you just state it?
The change to the administrative office for this fiscal year is $4,400, and for next fiscal year is $20,576 for the full year.
Also in the memo was that the additional amounts were to come out of efficiencies within the departments, not additional draw on the general fund. So that's very important that people know that because we need to be that way.
Yes, and additionally, in support of that, the administrative office for next fiscal year, because of the increase for the full year, will be looking at other ways, as other departments are next fiscal year, to reduce other costs in some line items.
Yep, very much appreciated that aspect to this as well. Other comments? Board discussion, or would somebody like to make the motions?
I'll introduce the two ordinances establishing the Human Resources and Risk Management and rescinding Chapter 210 and replacing it with a new Chapter 210.
And that would be recommendations 1 and 2, correct?
1 and 2.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes on 5-0.
I move the resolutions for item 3, 4, and 5.
Second.
Motion and a second. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. That's items 1 through 5 are hereby approved unanimously by the Board of Supervisors. 1 and 2 will come back for action next week. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if we could keep our board packet, then we don't have to use more paper.
All right. Supervisors are advised to keep their board packet on item 16 for consideration in the next meeting.
Would you mind keeping mine for me?
Sure. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francine.
We now move to item number 17, which is a discussion and possible action regarding a minute order approving second amended joint exercise of powers agreement created the Upper McCallum River Watershed Authority. This is my item, so I guess if it's all right with you, I'll try to describe what's going on here. Most of you know that Calaveras County is part of a Joint Powers Act. The Upper McCallum River Watershed Authority was created when it was thought that PG&E was going to go bankrupt and somebody was going to have to cover all the lands that were sort of governed and owned by PG&E. So this agency was originally created to deal with the implications of that. As it turned out, they didn't go bankrupt, but the organization continued. Some people thought that it was important to have some agency that dealt with water policy issues, and finding all the organizations under one meeting was attractive to people who noted that it was very hard to come up with water policy and watershed management when there were so many different agencies and they were never found in one room. The following organizations are part of this: Alpine County, Alpine County Water Agency, Amador County, Amador Water Agency, Calaveras County Water District, Calaveras Public Utility District, East Bay Municipal Utility District, and the Jackson Valley Irrigation District. As things evolved, a number of projects came forward, including the presentation that you saw a couple of weeks ago. The WARMF watershed assessment tool was created out of funds that were primarily put forward by East Bay Municipal Utility District, but under the auspices of this Joint Powers Act agency. The ability to get things like that done could never have happened with the individual groups. It had to be the combination that allowed that to move forward. And so with the goal of continuing this organization, but expanding it from its original anticipation of being the catch-all for the fallout from a bankruptcy that never happened, the goal here is now to move the Joint Powers Act into a watershed and water supply organization, and that it would continue to try to create the basis for forming coordinated regional approaches to the McCollum watershed and the water uses. This required a change in its bylaws just to add the water provision language, and it has to be approved by each of the boards, the respective boards that are participating, the organizations participating in the Joint Powers Act. So it would require a motion to adopt. And you've got, in strikeout terms, you've got each of the changes. It's very minimal, and essentially you can see that in the first page of the February 15th letter to this organization. Article 1, each one changes it from simply watershed project to watershed project and water supply project. And that water supply is added all throughout. And then finally, under the heading, following projects are now listed. The new ones are Integrated Regional Conjunctive Use Project, or IRCUP, and Raise Lower Bear Project, and Regional Water Supply Planning. Those are the three things that have been added to that. So, given those proposed changes, I'd open it up to board comment and public comment, if there is any. Board?
The Raising Lower Bear has been going on for over 20 years.
Yes, that's been a discussion, I understand.
And I thought it has still not been put to rest.
That's all right. The Highway 4 bypass has been going on for over 50, so there's hope.
There's hope. You know, camera is the exact same thing. With the exclusion of East Bay Municipal Utility District, Alpine County, and Alpine Water Agency, there is redundancy. And I know the two of you serve on it. I've been trying to kill it for years, and this is another good reason. The reason it was formed and the reason it's here now has morphed. So I don't, all the players are the same. I don't see why we have to keep camera. I'm just
You don't see the big picture, Rita.
I guess not. I just see some redundancy here.
As somebody sitting on both, and I know Bill shares this thought with me, that there is redundancy and there's a need to merge efforts here. We don't need one extra meeting for social purposes. As I view it, the best opportunity to have common and regional approaches to water management, at least on the McCollum, is with the authority, which is why this change is being proposed. And as a secondary measure, it would be my goal to see whether CAMRA could find a way to join in that effort, and if not merge organizations, at least merge effort.
It's all the same players on camera that are here. Okay.
Except SPI.
Well,
which is on
SPI
camera.
is...
It's on camera, but not
They are?
authority.
Since when? They've never been.
They don't attend meetings.
Well, they're certainly part of it.
When did that happen? It's all been a public, it's all public agencies, it's not private companies.
Well, I'll check in on that. I'm not their participants. So, is there any further comment on this item?
Public comment?
I called for public comments. There appeared to be none.
I will move this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes on a 5-0. We now move to item 18, and this is the discussion, possible action regarding a resolution authorizing application for a local adult detention facility Assembly Bill 900 construction grant.
Under Sheriff Michael Walker, our grant for AB 900 funds is being delivered today. Captain Ballard and I went down to Napa yesterday to meet with our consultant to go over the finished product and organize it. It's been organized, it's been copied, and being delivered today. Those are about the only comments that I have on that issue. This item will still need to remain on the agenda for the next 2 meetings. What happens now, once the application is turned in, is it goes under technical review by Correction Standard Authority. If there's anything that they see in the grant application that needs to be changed that would require board action, we need to be on the agenda so we can make those changes.
Okay, could you remind the audience why this needs to be on for 3 consecutive meetings?
Well, the application itself has certain elements of it that the board had to pass a resolution on in terms of the grant amounts, the matching amounts, the in-kind amounts, and a commitment to staff the facility. If any of those things under the review need to be changed, we would need to bring that back to the board.
But there's nothing yet to come back to on this?
No. The first meeting that we'll actually have some input into will take place March 20th, and that's with the Correction Standard Authority Board. At that time, they'll review our letter asking for a waiver of our in-kind match, a portion of our in-kind match. That will either be approved or denied at that meeting. If it's approved, we're still good to go, and we won't need to come back to the board. If it's denied, we'll have to come back to the board at that time with a new strategy plan.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I'll move that this item be continued and placed on the agenda for the next 2 regularly scheduled board meetings.
Is there a comment from the public? There appears to be.
Mr. Chairman, I believe under the Brown Act, once a motion has been put on the board, it has to be carried through. This is one of the things I get very disturbed about. The board, I'm not saying ignores, they forget. Public comment has to come before you can apply a motion. Otherwise, the public comment is null and void.
Well, we have not passed the motion. There is a motion, and I'm now calling for comment on that motion.
The public comment should come before the motion is applied, sir.
I think the confusion is that public comment is required before the board takes action on the item. The board's not taking action.
Right.
But
That's
continuing it.
I believe what I was trying to indicate. But I believe public comment is in order, and if you wish to comment
Yes, sir,
on
I
the
do.
topic, you may do so now.
Yes, sir. Joe Kelly. During the bond Measure J election cycle, how was the voting public informed of the resolution's paragraph F? Changes in the facility's use, title, or other interest needs permission of the Corrections Standards Authority. Will Calaveras County own the facility, but the Corrections Standards Authority owns allowable uses? During the bond Measure J election cycle, how was the voting public informed that Calaveras County Frog Hollow Justice Facility was being considered to expand its inmate housing to include state, parentheses, regional, and federal inmates? March 11, 2008, the sheriff stated to the Board of Supervisors, the state paying $77.16 per inmate and the feds paying better, over $100 per inmate. The $77.16 value based on a 365 days year equals $28,163.40. How does this compare to the state's annual average cost per inmate of $35,587? I'm sure the elected officials of California would like to meet the court-mandated inmate population reductions with a $7,000 plus savings per inmate and possibly not having to build a new state prison facilities at the cost of $94,000 a bed. This information changes the whole scope of the bond measure J vote. 1, the construction standards meeting local, state, regional, federal detention center construction, the most stringent applicable by law construction standards that apply for a multiple jurisdiction, minimum, medium, maximum security inmate population detention center to include the maximum protection of the citizens of Calaveras County. 2, the environmental impact report scope required by the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. 3, the possibility of the bond measure J being invalid. What has been represented as the Calaveras County Jail lacking sufficient beds for felons to serve criminal sanctions now at the resolution stage due to the sheriff's comment takes on a whole new concept. The Calaveras County Frog Hollow Justice Facility / local, state, regional, federal detention center without the voters being duly informed before the bond measure J vote. 4, is the Calaveras County Frog Hollow Justice Facility sewer system a commercial septic system? Is the construction of this facility going to require a new sewer plant? Is sufficient capacity available at the existing sewer plant? How will the dormitory triple bench bed increase to 280 beds affect the sewer equivalence capacity for connection to the existing sewer plant? 5, water connection, public water or well. 6, are the architectural and construction plans being bid by companies knowledgeable in multiple jurisdiction, minimum, medium, maximum security inmate population detention centers? 7, who guarantees no under construction changes during the construction phase will be needed? 8, what guarantees do we the people have that the AB 900 detention facility will be completed within the bid contract? Last week's Board of Supervisors approval of the resolution seems rather premature considering the discussion regarding the Sheriff's Department staffing analysis and strategic plan was canceled on March 4, 2008 agenda. The resolution, paragraph E, states, assures that the county will fully and safely staff and operate the new adult detention facility that is being constructed consistent with Title 15, California Code of Regulations, within 90 days after project completion. How will the staffing analysis and strategic plan work with the concept of the Calaveras County Frog Hollow Justice Facility being expanded to house state, regional, and federal inmates? Resolution F states, assures that the county has project site control through fee simple ownership of the site, etc., modify the use of, etc., without permission and instructions from the California Standards Authority. Is it part of the strategic plan, which has not been looked at, to substitute the original county campus new jail site until the Opinski and Voorhees sites can be purchased in fee simple ownership, meeting all the etc. of paragraph F to include requesting permission and instruction from the Corrections Standards Authority to substitute the Opinski and Voorhees properties for the original resolution site? Think how the taxpayers feel about this. They were led to believe Measure J funds would build a local jail facility on existing county-owned property. Do the right thing. Put the brakes on this resolution. Stop it today. You have the ability under the Brown Act emergency situation procedures. I request you contact the County District Attorney, the California Attorney General, and the United States Attorney General for their input as to the legality of this issue. I request the voice recordings and public television video recordings of March 11, 2008 and March 18, 2008 Board of Supervisors meetings be protected from tampering and destruction until the issue is resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there staff response? There were 9, maybe 10 questions involved in this.
If Mr. Kelly could give me his list, I could go down them and maybe respond to the items on his list.
There were more than that. I just listed a number there, but the whole thing needs to be discussed.
Are you submitting that to the Board of Supervisors?
Well, let me, yes, as a matter of fact, here. Let me have my copy back, and then you can, when you're done, you can present that to the clerk if you would, please.
On the first item that Mr. Kelly brings up, during the bond measure J election cycle, how is the voting public informed that Calaveras County Frog Hollow Justice Facility was being considered to expand its inmate housing to include state, regional, and federal inmates? The bond measure itself called for a 240-bed facility to meet the county's need out through 2030. So we are building a 240-bed facility to meet that need. Obviously, not every one of those beds is going to be occupied the day we open the facility. The state AB 900 application form only allows us to build out to 2011 need for the county, which is 160 beds. Part of the Measure J bond money will be building out to the 240 beds that the voters wanted us to build to. The most economic way to staff that facility is to take those vacant beds that the county is not using at the time that it opens and leasing those beds out so that we can pay those operational costs that the county taxpayer would have to bear. It is the most economic way for the county taxpayer to run the facility. It will save a significant amount of money to the county taxpayers by leasing beds out. Item number 2, the environmental impact report scope required by the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, is being completed and is almost near completion now, and will be completed by the time that AB 900 funds become available in the process in May and June. Item number 3, the possibility of the bond measure J being invalid. I don't believe that that would be the case. The AB 900 funding cycle and the application RFPs came out after Measure J. Measure J, and the voters knew that the county was positioning itself to be eligible for those funds, and that the 10% match, 25% match that we were looking for in applying for the AB 900 funds was covered in Measure J. Is the Calaveras County Frog Hollow Justice Facility sewer system a commercial septic system? Is the construction of this facility going to require a new sewer plant? Is sufficient capacity available at the existing sewer plant? All of those issues are being addressed at this time. I know that County Council has been talking to Council with the San Andres Sewer District, and those discussions are underway. The county has the funding set aside to pay its fair share for connections to San Andres Sanitary Sewer District. Water connection, public water or well, it is anticipated that the water will come through CPUD, which provides water for San Andres. Are the architectural and construction plans being bid by companies knowledgeable in multiple jurisdictions, minimum, medium, maximum security inmate population detention centers? Yes, the architectural and consulting firms that we are using have built numerous facilities, not only in California, but in the United States. They've built facilities for the state and local entities in California. Who guarantees no under construction charges during the construction phase will be needed? I'm not sure what under construction charges means. If you could explain that.
Joe Kelly. When a process of construction is going under contract and a change comes up, it costs $10,000 an hour for that change to be implemented. That's how it's figured in a contract change with a construction company. That's my concern here.
Okay, Mr. Kelly's talking about change orders. That all comes down to a matter of pre-planning, which the Sheriff's Department and its consultants have been doing for the last 2 years. When it comes down to the architectural phase, again, it's going to be pre-planning that prevents any change orders from needing to take place.
But we have not incurred any such to this point.
We have not incurred any of those.
Could not have possibly.
Number 8, what guarantees do we, the people, have that AB 900 detention facility will be completed within the bid contract? The bid contract and our application for AB 900 funds does have a specific timetable that we are to be completed under. State funding will be withheld if we don't have certain aspects completed on time. So it is in our best interest to move forward and make sure that we are completing in a timely process with our construction people. And in fact, we have money put aside in AB 900 for construction management, which will ensure that those don't take place. And I believe that that was the last of the questions on here. I do. Excuse me. You talk about, in the resolution, paragraph F, that talks about site control. Those are all issues that are spelled out in AB 900 in how the state is doing the financing on this project. The state does, in fact, hold the property during the 30-year time frame that they're repaying their funding. It is still under county control, but the state does hold the title to that property. Mr. Kelly asked about the staffing levels for the jail and the fact that that board item last week was removed that talked about staffing levels. That board item had nothing to do with jail staffing levels. That strictly deals with patrol staffing levels, and the consultant that we hired with board approval several months ago to look at patrol staffing levels and means that we could offset the cost for increasing those staffing levels through development agreements.
Thank you, Mike. Is there other comments on this topic?
May I add to that some questions that came up while Undersecretary Walker, or Under Sheriff Walker, sorry. The concept of staffing, what was brought up earlier today in public comment by a lady from SEIU was the concept of ratcheting. I spoke about this once before. From what I've seen in the last few Calaveras Enterprise County employment things, correctional officers at $16 and some odd cents an hour, what's it going to do when we start having state and federal detention prisoners in, and these folks start realizing, hey, what was the state correctional officers being paid? They weren't being paid $16. We want the same. And then we start to see an escalation of ratcheting to get to a point where we're meeting state values, which at that time was costing $35,000 per inmate, or that proportionate share of that, for staffing. So this is one of the big concerns that I don't believe has been addressed from anything I've read, and why I'm asking all these questions. And it takes a lot of time to think this stuff up. I'm not trying to be arbitrary or that. I'm trying to get answers to questions so we, the people, understand what is going on. And I do bring up this issue that going from a local jail, and then because of a issue of taking the burden off the taxpayer by leasing out these beds, when do we get to a point of supplantation of funds? Prop 172 funds, or measure any other funds that go into the that are brought into the revenue system stream of the jail that turn out to exceed the running of that the county comes back and says, we supplant these funds, you get your thing, but we're taking this back out and putting back into our general fund monies. It's done every day of the week. Those are two additional questions. Supplanting funds, so it takes the burden off the people of paying of the Measure J funds that the jail helps pay its own way. We're always talking about people paying their own way. Thank you.
Okay, I think we're beginning to mix and match revenue streams here, but is there any further comment on any of this? Russ?
I'm not sure that this is exactly the right time to bring this up, but since Under Secretary Walker has brought it up, what I'm specifically concerned about is we currently have an overcrowding condition. Everybody's been aware of that for a number of years. What I see as a kind of a looming paradox potentially here is that if we start off on day one with a contract with the state and or the federal government for 80 beds, and we have 160 by the time that the jail is built, the actuarial figures that I've seen is that we could anticipate that we would have an inmate population of 160. So if we've got contracted 80 and 160 of our own, where is Judge Mawhinney going to put the 161st convicted person?
Well, if Judge Mawhinney fills up our county jail at this point, the county's broke because we won't be able to afford to staff that. And I don't think that that would be Judge Mawhinney's intention. I think that Judge Mawhinney intends to incarcerate people that he feels need to be incarcerated. It's the sheriff's job to incarcerate those people or find alternative means of incarceration, which we already do. We use home detention monitoring, we use work release programs, and we will continue to use those programs. And in fact, they'll be more effective when we actually have a new facility, because there actually will be the threat of jail that forces people into those programs. So it's going to be a classification and jail management issue for the sheriff to make sure that all of the beds are not filled in a facility. If we lease beds, if we lease 80 beds, if we lease 40 beds, if we lease 20 beds, those are going to be contracts that will have to come before the Board of Supervisors to decide if that's something that they want to do to offset the cost of operating the facility. The sheriff's office can leave those beds vacant. The sheriff's office is just looking at the most cost-effective way of running the jail for the county.
Well, don't misunderstand. I think that that's prudent to lease them out. I just would like to have you look carefully at the lease documents, at those contract arrangements, so that we aren't getting ourselves into the same situation that we currently find ourselves in. I would like to be able to be assured that we could divest ourselves of the need to fill those outside beds, that we always have a cushion for our local needs. That's just
absolutely. If we filled every bed in that facility on day one, that would be disingenuous to the voters that voted for Measure J, because we told the voters that we would stop the early release of inmates out of the county jail, and nothing that we would do in terms of any leases would you know, the sheriff's office is going to stop the early release of inmates.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I think we have a motion, and I will second the motion.
All right. That motion was made by Tryon much earlier. We now have a second for that motion. Is there further board discussion? All right. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
As a point of order, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Kelly made reference to supervisor training. I attended a very lively discussion on methodology for conducting public meetings, and it is usual and customary in some jurisdictions to have somebody make a motion at the onset of the discussion, and it sort of frames the discussion. We don't typically do that. We have all of our discussion, and then somebody comes up with a motion, but I think that it's certainly acceptable to make a motion at the onset, discuss it, have somebody second it at the end of it, or have it fail for the lack of a second. But it's just a different way of accomplishing it, which I think is good.
I think the point that's been made a number of times in this meeting is that it's important that all parties with an interest in commenting be afforded that opportunity, and it's my intent as chair to provide that. We now move to item 19, which is the review of correspondence, reports, and various matters of concern. I'd like to start with Bill and move down the line.
Which way?
Which way?
Toward you.
That's down. That's up.
No way. Oh, wait, yeah, this is to the left. I can accept that.
The only thing I have to report this week is a meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Calaveras County Water District for CAMRA, one of Rita's favorite McCollum River organizations, the Calaveras Amador McCollum River Authority. I like that authority. That's it for me.
And which day was that?
Tomorrow.
Okay, and Marita?
I'm meeting with Area 12 tomorrow. I have California State Association of Counties Board meeting on Thursday, and I have the State Water Plan Bulletin 160 meeting on Friday. So I'll be in Sacramento all day Thursday, all day Friday.
Russ?
Okay. This is a kind of an alarming situation for me. I'm going to be eligible for Medicare tomorrow.
Just in time.
I don't know exactly how that happened, but and if that wasn't shocking enough. I see on my calendar here that I'm going to be meeting with our CAO, Bob Lawton. Hopefully we can get together about 10 o'clock on Friday. I want to show Bob around District 5 as much as we can in an hour or so before we go down, and I want to show him the Copperopolis Town Square and some of the activities that are being constructed down there. I'll be attending and hope to see some of my colleagues at the DSA dinner on Saturday night. And let's see. Oh, I think that this might be the proper time to bring this up, is that there's the County Chamber of Commerce, the leadership program for 2008 commences in April. And we discussed this briefly at one prior meeting, but I do want to alert you that I will be going to this, and I would hope to fund the $500 cost of the program out of my special funds for District 5. And that concludes my comments.
Tom?
I'll be in Sacramento tomorrow at an RCRC meeting. Includes my comments.
And I will be at community planning meetings in West Point tonight and on Thursday with Glencoe and Railroad Flat. This is the process that the board set forth some time ago that's now underway up there to try to develop community plans in the 4 towns up there. And then I have a board meeting of the Up From the Understory on Wednesday evening, and I'll be at the DSA dinner on Saturday the 22nd. I also, last week on Thursday, took my seat on the Sierra Conservancy board and have some good news to report for Calaveras County. After deliberations, they have agreed to fund 8 projects in the south central region, which includes Amador, Mariposa, Tuolumne, and Calaveras counties, which are the counties that I was there representing. Calaveras came away with 4 funded things, and I'll just quickly go over them. There's a regional water and wastewater reconnaissance study for the Highway 4 corridor. It got $32,610, and the grantee organization was Calaveras County Water District. We have another project, the Central Sierra Resource Assessment, Amador, Calaveras, and Tuolumne counties. That's by the Motherlode Trust, funded for $47,850. These, by the way, were strategic opportunity grants. Third one involving Calaveras is Love Creek Working Forest Project, Phase 2, Pacific Forest Trust, $75,000. And finally, the Calaveras County Conservation Planning Project, integrating habitat and open space protection into the county's general plan update. That was put forward by the Calaveras County CDA at $46,000, and they were funded as well. 2 of these were on the bubble going in, but after further discussion, we were able to win support for all 4, and they passed unanimously at the hearing and review on that topic. Actually, this is the packet, the board packet for that. I was delighted to find the amount of reading, and actually got the hard copy just a few days beforehand, but they now will be giving them out electronically, and I look forward to getting more time to read it next time. But the projects going around Sierra, the debate there, and it's something that we may want to have some discussion on this board, was there were really 3 kinds of grant requests under the SOG grants. One had to do with what seemed to fall into the general category of public information and education. Another was in planning and sort of looking into the future and setting up regional type planning efforts. And the third one, which had most of the money throughout the counties of the Sierra, was on the ground, actually work being done, much of which was fire safe and sort of fuel reduction type projects. There seemed to be some amount of debate, which I did not want to weigh in on in my first meeting, but I thought it worth bringing back to this board at some point and bringing up the points that were made in favor. I don't see these as mutually exclusive myself, but there's a question of emphasis in where we'd like to see our money going toward. And I'd like to make sure, since there's, I believe, $17 million more to give out over the course of the next year, that we take this seriously and decide what we'd like to see done with this, both locally but also regionally within the South Central region. So that completes my report.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make the other board members aware that I did also attend that meeting, and was very pleased and proud to see you standing or sitting up there with that prestigious group. That was really very nice. Also, while I was there, I took the opportunity to schedule a meeting with the Madera County Sheriff, John Anderson, for the purpose of discussing their boat fee. It's not a user fee necessarily, but it's a sticker program that they have on Bass Lake that's been a very successful program to reduce accidents and to actually they have 4,000 permits that they issue, about 1,000 of which are personal watercraft. But the program produces $220,000 to $230,000 in revenue annually that they use to enforcement presence on the lake. And the reason that I was interested in that is I'm trying very hard to come up with some solutions to the crowding problems that we have at Lake Tulloch, and we've been discussing that. You may remember some discussion about that in prior years. So anyway, that is still continuing to be part of our activities down there.
Thanks. It was good actually having a friendly and recognized face in the audience out there. I was on unfamiliar territory. Thanks for coming. Any reports from administration?
Nothing this week, sir.
County Council?
Nothing.
Clerk? All right, that completes this part of the meeting. However, in changing our protocols, we are about to move into closed sessions regarding, there are 3 items, items 20, 21, and 22. And at this point, I will open that for public comment if anybody wishes to comment on any matters pertaining to those items. Okay, hearing none, I will announce the rest of our schedule today. We will have the Board of Equalization, which is scheduled from 1:30 to 2:30, and we have the Economic Development Study Session sponsored by, among others, the Chamber of Commerce, which will take place at 2:30, both in this room. At this point, we will move to closed session and adjourn our open session for the morning. Thank you very much.